Authority and enthusiasm. 3.5. Be excited. I guess I guess I was doing that in the 80s, just walking in there like, whatever, let's just get this thing over with. As opposed to like, oh, man, it's going to be the best class you ever had. At the end of the class, tell me if you think it was the best class you ever had. Guy says, oh, okay. So, of course, it was his best class because I brainwashed him. I told him it was going to be the best class he ever had. Ryan?
And this is just how I kind of get myself pumped up. But before I'm going to a seminar, I'll talk about it with other people and tell other people how great this seminar is going to be and how excited I am to go to this place or that place and teach. And it kind of helps me before I even step out the door to go to the seminar. Maybe I tell my wife, man, this is going to be the most amazing seminar. There's going to be these engineers from this nuclear propulsion lab there and these other guys, and we're going to talk about this. And by the time I get there, I'm already pumped up, and they feed immediately off the energy. They can tell I'm excited to be there.
That's great. You're basically brainwashing yourself.
I brainwash myself. That's exactly what I do. Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah, I was teaching a class once. I think it was one of the coolest compliments I'd ever gotten. It was during a break, and a guy looked at me. He was sitting about midway back, and he goes, "When you speak about the code, you speak with such passion."
Well, I hear this all the time. Mike, I know you really love what you're doing. I know you're really excited about what you're doing. I can just see it. So I am. I mean, it's true. So fill the room with enthusiasm. Hey, listen, if you're like, man, I cannot teach another voltage drop calculation problem. If I do, I'm going to throw up. That's kind of like a sign you went too far. You should have backed off before that. You should have started saying, hey, listen, I'll teach grounding and bonding, but I'm not doing calculations anymore. I can't do that for a while. I need to take a break. Or you know what? I can't do another code change. I'll tell you what I'll do. How about we do a grounding and bonding seminar? How about we do an essentials electrical rules? How about we do some, like I'm doing calculations in this year's seminar. So I'm doing fault current calculations and air conditioning and motors and other calculations because I'd like to do something different as well. So figure out why you're kind of like dried up. Next one. Command by your presence and poise. This includes how you dress and conduct yourself. When you put on the suit, you put on the armor, you feel good. You automatically, I don't know, I think my shoulders get a little further back. My back stiffens up a little bit. I think I walk a little different. I think there's a confidence in I'm kind of like this as opposed to like, kind of walking in there. I'm like, man, yeah, I'm here. Yes, Ryan?
So back on the topic of dress, do you have any pointers for female instructors for what they should wear? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't, unfortunately. But we talked about a suit and wearing a tie and all of that. But there's certainly a lot more female instructors now. Than there used to be.
Especially women engineers, man. They're
Right.
really, really smart.
I went some good ones. So one of the best classes I ever went to was taught by a female out of Las Vegas, and she was absolutely tremendous.
Obviously, most of the students in the class are going to be men.
Sure.
So obviously men, are men. And so I'm sure that women have enough experience to realize how men are. You know what I mean? And so, well, depending upon what you're looking for, you could dress a certain way and get it. You know what I mean?
Modestly is what you're going
The
for.
thing is, I would think the best thing that I can visualize professionally would be, I think it would be better to have a dress than a skirt and a top. You know what I'm saying? A dress is just, it can be a fitted outfit, kind of like a professional suit. Mm-hmm. She's a female. It's a female. I mean, they're attractive. They're feminine. And there's no reason not to be an attractive feminine person teaching a class. I mean, that's just who you are. And they wear nice jewelry, but not gaudy stuff. I mean, not fancy stuff. Hair, just nice and comfortable. Probably not low-cut blouse, and hair just all swirled around the side like that, and, with slit up the dress. I think women are pretty smart. I think women are just smarter than men in general when it comes to dress. And I'm thinking that they would just be wiser. Did we have a question asked on that at all about females with their
Yeah,
questions?
just bringing it up, saying, talk about what women should wear.
Okay, you know what the easiest way to do this? Mike, we're having a presenter at Mike Holt seminar, right? So we would want you to be modest. We want it to be about the information. We don't want you be drawing attention to your sexuality because you're a woman, because automatically you are going to be drawn to that because she's a woman.
Right.
So I would say, I think I would prefer, I think darker clothes, you know what I mean, as opposed to like this hot red dress with a miniskirt. I said, you said a dress. Yeah, well,
Right.
I meant, not a miniskirt, red dress, low cut blouse. I mean, low cut. So I would just say, it needs to be professional.
Right.
It can't be just a skirt and a top and just kind of go out there. Belinda does a lot of speaking for us. And Belinda she'll buy women's suits.
Yep.
And she might only wear it once a year. But she's going to go out and buy a suit, professional woman's business suit. So if you're going to, but if, you know what I'm thinking, what do you do if you're teaching a 4-year apprenticeship training program and you're going there 2 nights a week? You're not going in there with a dress. You know what I mean? And maybe when I'm talking about, you still would go in with a shirt and a tie as a guy. So that isn't going to change. When I say not a dress, I mean not like this powerful business suit. That's when you're speaking before a large group that we see inside here.
I guess just setting yourself apart really is the.
Let's put it this way. If
know.
the woman was in a room with 5 other women, clearly she should be the leader.
Yep.
Right? She should be the leader standing in that room with 5 other women. Everybody knows, okay, she must be the boss.
Right.
And it should be, I guess, like a branch manager of a bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever the norm is, she should be
A step above.
the best of that group. Good question. Okay. Authority enthusiasm. Let them know that something exciting is going to happen. And I'll say to the class, guys, we are going to have so much fun today.
Yeah.
It's going to be nuts. I'm going to blow you. Matter of fact, I'm going to say things. Matter of fact, let me show you the first slide. So right from the first slide, I do something. They're like, they're laughing, they're joking. They're like, man, I cannot believe, before we even get started. So you need to figure out a way, and I'll try to remember when we get into PowerPoint slides, the presentation part, to show you my introductory slides. And then you're going to be like, that is hilarious. So those are the kind of things you're looking for. Authority and enthusiasm, continuing. The students should feel a change in the dynamics of the room. When you get there, it's like, whoa. When I go and I get on the stage, all of a sudden, it gets quiet. Now, what day was I speaking here?
Second day or afternoon of the first
Afternoon, maybe on the first day, maybe. But for sure, day 2. Because I got my jacket off, we're just kind of relaxing a little bit there. Let them know that something exciting is going to happen. Brainwash them right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Any question you have, this is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Mood. You want to know how they're doing? Look at the body language. We talked about that multiple times. But then again, the baseball hat, the guy have his eyes closed the whole time. It isn't always. What would bother me at times, it used to bother me, and it doesn't bother me anymore, is sometimes a guy will fall asleep in the class. I'm like, dude, Mike Holt speaking, excuse me. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? I'm like, I'm up. You know what I mean? And when I found out after a while, I realized, okay, this is a guy that worked the 3rd shift. And he had to come into this class, and he'd been up all night long. And he was exhausted. So he's there. And he had to be there because his plant required him to be there. Brian?
Well, I just think back to a funny story. I was helping your crew actually set up for your seminar about 5 years ago. And I came in late, and we had some audio problems, and so I was up pretty much all night sorting out things for the seminar the next morning. And of course, I am a very visual person, and I sit in the front row on the right-hand side, so there's nobody in front of me, about 10 feet from you. And I started literally falling asleep, and I just remember hearing you talking, and you were like 3 feet away from me, and you're like, okay, we're going to have a break. And then you're like, Brian, are you okay? Brian. I think I'd fallen asleep in class, and I'm like the guy that's in the front, I'm totally engaged, but I was so tired. And you just don't know. You have no clue what happened the night before. Maybe they were up all night with their kid. Maybe they had to work all night. Who knows? But they put the effort into being there. They wanted to be there. They wouldn't have been there,
Listen, and I tell people, look, you're adults. I know you want to be here. I mean, but there's a lot of things happening in people's lives. I mean, and I'm not going to take it as disrespect. So that's what I'm saying. When I was younger, somebody would sleep, and I realized, you know what? The guy's sleeping. He's exhausted. You know what I mean? I don't know enough what's going on. Maybe him and his wife just broke up that night. You know what I mean? Or she, whatever. Or his kid was in the hospital, and I don't want to judge anybody.
No.
I just know that I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to do all I can. Now, what I will do when somebody's sleeping is sometimes I'll walk by and I'll speak like I did with you, okay? And I'm thinking that the presence, well, you can't if I'm standing on a stage, but I mean if it's a smaller group like that, just the fact that you're walking there, or I'll take a break. I say, you know what, guys, let's just take a break to help the person that was sleeping, in your case, and to also, you know what, it's after lunch. I normally would have taken a break at a certain time, but this material isn't like really engaging, and I'm actually kind of tired myself. So it isn't like I'm waking you up. And so it's like, you know, guys, let's take a short break. And they're like, well, I said, just 5 minutes. This is going to be just short with it. So you do that sometimes to mix it up. Continuing on. We talked about that. Can't always tell based upon body language on the sleeping part or the body language. Students will mirror your mood. I said, if I'm tired, yeah, you got to be exhausted. If I'm freaking out, you really should be freaking out. Nervous. Nervousness is good for you and activates the adrenaline that puts an edge on your presentation. I was nervous this morning. Those that were watching the video streaming as we stream this live, people are watching it in the morning. I mean, I'm like, I won't say I'm hyperventilating, but there was like, Scotty's over here, and then we got Ryan over there getting this inside here, and then where's the PowerPoint, and then Bruce wants this, and then, you know, we need to get this inside here, and I'm worried about the time in there, and I'm trying to get the PowerPoint to copy everybody, and then I'm trying to make sure, and we're not sure if it's going to work, and I'm getting stressed. I tell you, the worst class I ever had was teaching 400 kids that were between probably 13 and 16. You know what I mean? I'm like nervous. Think about it. I get in front of a class of 600 people at my seminar. I'm pretty nervous. I'm afraid that I'm going to do something stupid. I'm going to say something inappropriate because I could be that kind of person. You know what I mean? I'm going to just mess up. I'm going to say something wrong that they left and I couldn't make the correction. I'm like, gosh, I said it wrong, or whatever the case may be. So the nervousness, the adrenaline. But I tell you what, if you're prepared the best you can be, you know you've done the best you can do. And so that helps the adrenaline. If you're not prepared, you got to be a disaster. Ryan?
Well, you just said something, and I'm not certain that you meant it quite the way it sounded. You said that was the worst class that you ever did, was for those high school students, and maybe that is what you meant. I was thinking it was probably the most nervous you've ever been.
Yeah, it was the most nervous.
But I would be willing to bet that it wasn't your worst, if you're anything like me, because I'll tell you right now, I get more nervous when I'm teaching a new group, right? For a new client.
Right.
That's when I get really nervous because I don't know these people, and those are always my best classes. Because I'm going in, I know I've really got to be on edge. I've got to be on my A game. There is no autopilot, you know. And when I'm teaching groups that I've taught several times and I'm not quite as nervous, that's when I find that I have to be careful to not go on autopilot. So to me, the more nervous I am, usually the better I do on a performance.
And let me talk about that class of 400. There were a lot of kids in that class crying when they heard about my story.
Moved, you mean?
Moved.
Resonated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were. You can see they were all fixed.
Right.
Young kids that are all over there. But I mean, I can tell you one thing. The moment I got on stage, I took charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Instantly. And you know what I told them the very first thing I got on stage? I got up there and I looked at them. I says, you know what? I'm freaking out right now. I'm totally freaking out talking to you guys because I had never talked to 12 to 16-year-old kids. And I don't know what to say to you that you're like, yeah, whatever, you know, you're going to blow me off or something like that. So all I can tell you is that in my heart, I think I have something to say to you, tell you my story. and where I came from and where I'm at today. And that stopped them. And I told them my story. And then you can see them, many of them can relate to my experience because they had very similar experiences. And so cute, they were so cute. It makes me want to cry right now. They come up to me and they said, "Oh, Mr. Holt, that's okay. You did a good job." You know what I mean? They were babying me.
Yeah.
No, it was great. You did a good job. You don't have to feel bad. You know what I mean? It was like, I said, "I don't know." I said, no, you did great. We really appreciate you coming here. You know what I mean? So it wasn't my worst class. It was the class that I was the most stressed for. Because you know why? I'd never talked to this class. Even though I prepared my material, I don't know what to do, how it's going to work. Because, see, I want to connect. I want to make a difference. And I don't know how I can. It wasn't me just getting up there and flying up there for free to talk to 400 kids and then leave. It was, can I change somebody's life? You know, so it was the most difficult. So thank you. I did clarify it. Brian?
Well, you know, we're talking about nervousness, and I know one thing, I've talked to a lot of instructors, and they're like, "Man, I'm afraid when I get nervous, I'm going to forget my material." And I took a sales presentation class one time, and the instructor talked specifically about adrenaline and what happens to your body with adrenaline. Everybody thinks they would forget things, but it actually heightens your senses. Yeah. And then when you need stuff, it has been scientifically proven, whether it's self-defense to protect your family or if it's material that you've studied, your brain is in hyperactive mode and the stuff comes to you. So nervousness is really, it's a good thing to some degree to kind of get you going.
Well, if you know you're prepared,
exactly.
Okay, then the adrenaline comes in, and I think, I don't know enough about how this fight and flight works, but for sure, for a male, and I can't speak for a female, the way we're engineered as caveman kind of stuff is we're focused, right? The adrenaline says, okay, we have a problem, right? We're not like all over the place thinking about everything. We're thinking about how the heck do I get out of here right now? Or how do I get that tiger before he gets me? So the adrenaline, you know, the body is, cortisone, is that what it's putting in the body?
Yeah.
Okay, and then all of a sudden, bingo. So I think it probably removes a lot of peripheral vision, and it probably brings you down a little closer side here, and your brain is looking at very small particles, not everything. It's dismissing cold, right? It's dismissing distraction. It's dismissing pain. It's just getting you into the focus. So that nervousness, and you're right about that, people need to realize it's never going to go away. If you're teaching a class 2 nights a week, it's a little different. After a while, but in the beginning it's not. Then after a while, you kind of get into your plan inside here. Good point.